Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and so much more. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Ready to talk some XDefiant and Battlefield today. We're going to be going over the XDefiant Season 1 details that we have, and then talking about how Battlefield can take what XDefiant is doing and learn in the future on a live service game. So, let's jump in. XDefiant Season 1 is coming up real quick, July 1st or July 2nd, depending on time zones and where you are in the world. But it's coming out pretty soon, and we've gotten some details around it. We're going to get some more details as we get closer to that release date. But so far, it's going to have a new faction, some new maps, and a new mode. And according to, I think it's the videos, like one new map per month.
Yep. Yeah.
DICE could only dream.
Yeah. It's very nice to see that, because I assumed it would be every month, but I also thought, I wonder if they'll just drop them all, the start
We've
of the season.
also been burnt before.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that they are spreading them out, even though, I'd be fine if they dropped them all at the same time. But, yeah. Spreading it out just means there's now, this whole year, every single month we're getting a new map. So it's just nice to...
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Also, it's insane that we think that's insane, because that used to be below the regular.
It's mental, isn't it? There used to be, that was actually, bad back in the day,
if you only got one a month or equivalent of one per month.
Call of Duty map packs back in the early, the Modern Warfare and Black Ops days, you'd get a map pack every 3 months, and it would have usually 4 to 6 maps in it. So that's more than, sometimes nearly 2 a month. And they would all drop at once. So it was like a big event. And that's how it used to be. And now this is, compared to then, this is essentially drip fed, which is weird to think, because this feels
Look what
great
they've done
to
to
me.
my boy.
This feels such a good cadence. I don't know if that's just coming from Battlefield or what, but yeah, it's good to see, but it also does make you feel a bit like, oh man, even though this is good, this is actually still not what games used to be. But also, the quality is going up and all that sort of thing. So I understand it takes a bit longer these days, unfortunately. But it is interesting to look at that, isn't it? And this is something I'm looking at going, man, this is awesome. One map a month, when it's actually less than what we used to get.
Yeah. How have you been enjoying XDefiant? I haven't been able to jump back in just because I got insanely busy. The only thing I've been able to have time for is Star Wars Hunters, which we talked about before we started recording. So, but how's XDefiant been treating you?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. To be fair, I've probably been a bit the same as you, that I've probably only played one session in the last week or so.
Okay.
Just because I was away last week, and then with Hunters launching, I've been so busy with that, and then Elden Ring DLC comes out next week, so it's just it's all going on at once. And even with XDefiant, I've been making content on it, but that takes up time that I could be playing the game too. So I haven't really had a chance to play for about a week now. Or I played when the update dropped the other day, but yeah, I'm still having a blast with it. It's still very, very just refreshing to have a game like this. That's, I don't know how to describe it. It's not the best shooter I've ever played. It's not the highest quality. It's not, the best feeling gunplay and all that kind of thing compared to other shooters out there, but it's all around just very good. It's not amazing, but it's very good. And it just feels like we haven't had a shooter like that in a long time. I haven't, even say with Call of Duty, it's the gunplay is really good, but man, the maps are terrible and the balancing sucks. And there's always the other negatives that kind of outweigh how good the gunplay feels and all that. It's a bit different with XDefiant. I just feel like there's not really any key issues that I like all the maps, all the gunplay, all the weapons and stuff. They all feel good. The movement feels good. It's just a nice...
Are you saying it's a complete game at launch?
Yeah, it does.
What?
It does feel a bit like that, which is after the last few years of just not even shooters, but just gaming in general, that is just feels weird to say that there's a game that's actually good at launch.
I've probably played it probably 3 weeks ago, I think was the last time I've been able to hop into it. There have been a lot of things. I've got a baby on the way, so that's been taking a lot of my time, like prep for that. Which hopefully isn't a sign for the future where I just never play video games ever again. But like for a long time, I was basically the first 2 weeks or so that the game came out, I was digging deep into some XDefiant gameplay. So I haven't been able to jump back into it, but from what I did play, it was fantastic, and it's definitely one of the kinds of games that I really want to continue sinking my teeth in and getting better and getting more time in. And I'm really looking forward to season 1. Maybe that's the opportunity for me to really like start getting in on it while helping Sydney care for a baby.
Sorry, babe, just got to go play season 1. I know we've got a kid, but yeah.
BRB.
There's other stuff I've got
you
to
good?
attend to.
You good? Okay, you good.
But yeah, it's I think season 1 is a good time to. It's obviously with the preseason, even though it's launch, it is preseason, so it's kind of it's a weird feeling of like I felt like it's the full launch of the game, but realistically, season 1 is the proper launch. So I think that is the best time to get into it. They've ironed out a few issues already. They've just changed the there's a lot of complaints about like bunny hopping and all that kind of thing. So they've just addressed that this week. And it just feels like by season 1, a lot of the, not that there really are that many issues, but a lot of the little issues will be ironed out. And then season 1, with some extra content and everything, it's just going to be the true launch of the game, just because they didn't really market XDefiant that much before it launched. It was just kind of the week of, they were like, yeah, hey, this game's coming out this week, but
it's out.
Yeah.
Have fun.
But it definitely feels like they've been gearing up to season 1. So yeah, I think for anyone who's in the same boat as you or even me that hasn't had that much of a chance to play, I think season 1 will be the perfect time to jump in and sort of get into the groove a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In terms of the live service, how are you feeling on it? Like, are you looking forward to it? Is it just like, okay, this is a standard live service experience? Like, how are you feeling? Like, because this will be the first true example of like it bringing new content to the game.
Yeah, it's a hard one to judge because like we kind of joked about there at the start. I've come from Battlefield where the live service was
our baseline right now is real low.
Yeah, and like obviously I've played so many live service games over the years, but that's the most recent one, and that's the one that I played it for like 2 and a bit years. Mm-hmm. And even with like Call of Duty, I feel as though that has also kind of dropped off a little bit with its live service. They aren't putting out as much content as they used to. So yeah, it's hard to judge just because of that, because it feels really good to me, but it also, I don't know how much of that is just literally I've been burned in the past. But no, I'm excited to see what they bring, and we're essentially getting a new map and a new weapon every month. We're going to get a new faction every 3 months. They didn't even really account for the game modes. Like, we're getting a new mode in this season too. We're also getting, they didn't put it in the patch notes, but they mentioned, Mark Rubin tweeted after like the trailer went live, that we're getting the new bomb game mode, which is essentially search and destroy, like the one life sort of mode. We're getting that brought forward into, he didn't confirm season 1, but he said like that'll be launching sooner than we thought, which I'm going to, the way he worded the tweet, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it pretty much like confirmed that's coming probably later in season 1. And then they also confirmed days before that we're getting team deathmatch before season 1, which they didn't. They're really listening to people, because they didn't actually. They explicitly said they don't really want team deathmatch in the game because there's no objective, and they want, this is a hero shooter, and hero shooters definitely play a bit better when there is like an objective and people are actually sort of trying to achieve something. So they pretty much said like we don't really want to put TDM, but everyone's been crying out for it, and now they're literally putting it in before season 1 even starts. So technically this season we're going to be getting 3 modes, 3 maps, 3 weapons, and a faction. And I'm sure they'll do like limited time modes and little things like that in there. hell, even just every weekend since launch has been double XP weekend. There's just constantly something going on, which I just think that's all you need in a live service for a shooter. They just have constant little events. They don't always have to be huge. Now, obviously, every now and then you should do something a bit bigger or whatever, but yeah, it just feels nice that there's like every weekend, every month, there's just going to be something going on, which just seems like that'll keep the player base happy. And I think that's really all we need. The gameplay is fun, just keep us entertained. Obviously, no matter how fun gameplay is, if it's the same maps and guns every single game for 6 months, that's going to get boring. So
Yeah.
the gameplay is fun, just keep us entertained with some extra incentives and like extra content, and yeah, I think most players will stay fairly happy.
I think that's the key thing, like going into just kind of like comparisons with Battlefield, which it's not like a true one-to-one comparison, except for the fact that they are first-person shooters and they are attempting live service games. That's kind of like the clear through line and comparison piece here, because different kinds of games, different scales of games. But I think the real difference, because technically Battlefield did have something that was going on periodically. If you look at like Battlefield Fridays and then Portal stuff that was happening where they had the feature game mode, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. But it's different now because like XDefiant is saying we're going to have things continuously, but with those things, there are going to be new experiences, new modes, and different priorities with each of these new things that I think just Battlefield never really did. It was kind of like, okay, you get this one piece of content and we're going to try to serve it to you 5 different ways without changing any of that piece of content we just gave you.
Yeah, I think the way that they've handled things over there with the Battlefield Live service is just, yeah, they've still definitely got a little bit of learning to do, and I do hope that they can look at games like XDefiant and even the finals as well. I think I haven't been playing that game constantly, but I'm pretty sure Season 3 is about to start, and like people seem to be pretty happy.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot that they can learn over there that, they've probably got the benefit of, I do think that the Battlefield gameplay is better than XDefiant gameplay. It's a bit more, the graphics and everything, like the production quality of Battlefield, I would generally say is better than a game like XDefiant. So they've already got that little, I guess, advantage. If they can get an advantage in the live service and everything as well, then that's only going to hold them in good stead. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do learn anything from these sorts of games. Because also we've seen that they sometimes try and copy too much. And it just, that's the fine line. That
Well, they copy. They don't try to imitate.
Yeah.
Or like they don't develop it. They don't take inspiration from. They just try to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, the whole live experience thing is probably something we should do. Okay, let's do it. Well, how should it work in Battle? No, that's the wrong question to ask. We should not ask how should it work in Battlefield. The question is how much money we can get if we did this. Is kind of the experience that it seems is going on. Rather than like starting from that experience of like, okay, XDefiant said, hey, we're going to make a good game here. We're going to build this experience, and it's going to have a focus on the player, and also that live service experience is going to serve that player experience.
Yeah, I think that's the key issue that Battlefield faced, was like they really did do things backwards a little bit, of sort of how you said it. It's like they're focusing on the money first, and then it's like, okay, so what can make us money? This, and this. All right, let's do that, instead of focusing on it the other way of like, what can we do that will keep people engaged? What will we do that will be fun to play and be, cool and immersive and all that kind of thing? How then do we monetize that? That's the way that it should be, because you need the game to be good first. You can always slap monetization on something if it's good. You can't always or I guess you can always monetize something and then like start it that way, but that's not going to guarantee the income because if it's not a good product, it doesn't matter how perfectly well set up it is. People aren't interested in it. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be like setting up like a streaming service and copying like Netflix with their whole subscription model, but then the shows you've got on your streaming service are just terrible. You're not going to make any money, even though it's set up perfectly.
Or you
well.
don't have or you have like one streaming show.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, even that thing could be amazing. It could be the best show ever made, and your monetization of that system, that streaming service, could be perfect. But once that show's been consumed by people, they will then cancel the subscription because why would you say subscribe? So you got to. I don't know how they don't. And this is just the whole like, old white man boomer thing CEO going on with these companies, that they are just too focused on the money. And I understand it, it's a business, but they don't seem to wrap their head around the fact that they can think like that while also still making a good product. Because realistically, if you look at all the best businessmen in the world, they make a good product. That's what has made them successful. These other dudes who are probably, a lot of them have either built their money through other businesses, or to be honest, I reckon a lot of these people have just been born into money. And then they're just trying to, like, investing is just like the skill-free way of earning more money because you have zero skills. You just say, go make me money to someone. So they don't quite seem to grasp it. And I almost wish that every, dev studio or company or publisher or whatever had like a middleman between the CEOs and the developers who just said, all right, I know you guys want to make money. Let me do that for you. And you just go off on your yacht and just shut up for the next 5 years. And I promise you, I'll make you a heap of money. And then that person, if they actually know about video games, they will make a lot of money. You know what I mean? But it just feels like sometimes the old heads, they want the control because they're the big boss man and they just need some sort of power in their life. It just feels like that's the issue there. So anyway, it does feel, which is weird coming from Ubisoft, but it does feel as though this game is the opposite. It feels like somehow Ubisoft has flipped that around here when they've been notorious for that sort of thing of like really trying to milk money out of everything that they can. But really, actually, in the last few years, they've actually done really well. Like, they've released a lot of games that have been really high quality. And even you look at a game like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, that was sold also cheaper, and it was a really good game. And it's now getting like free content updates and stuff. Like, they seem to be actually doing really well. I don't know if they've had some sort of internal, like, change up of how they do things.
Some revelation went up in the mountains, found this message from above.
Maybe they just did have like, maybe one of their owner, one of the CEOs or whatever was some like 80-year-old dude, and now he's retired, and they've brought in someone else who's like not a boomer. So I don't know. It just feels like things have changed over there weirdly, and this is the result of it. They've now got a good game that, I don't know if you saw, this had 10 million unique players in the first week. Like, that's insane for a free.
Yeah, I did see that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I know free means that it's more likely to get players in, but this is a new IP that is going directly up against like Call of Duty. This is the most similar game to COD that I think I've ever played. It's got big competition. Black Ops 6 is coming out this year. It's got a lot of stuff going against it, and it's done really, really well. And people seem to be, for the most part, really happy with it too. So, yeah, they've landed on something good here, and I hope that they just treat it the right way after launch. I hope they treat it like Rainbow Six, to be honest. I just hope that they go, all right, we're now locking in for the next decade. We're just going to support this game, give it good content, give the actual like playable content for free, but do a bunch of really cool skins and, like, I'm completely fine with them monetizing games, provided it's worth it. You know what I mean? I will spend money on it. I've already spent money on XDefiant because it feels worthy of that. Whereas I don't actually. I mean, I bought the battle passes for Battlefield 2042, but I don't think I. Now that I think of it, I don't think I ever bought a skin. I could be wrong. There might have been one skin. Actually, no, there was one skin. It was like a McKay skin that was like all had like embers all over it and stuff. That was really cool.
Yeah,
that's the only skin I've bought in 3 years of that game, and I've already bought a skin for XDefiant because it just feels. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it's worthy of.
It's gonna respect your decision to give it money.
Yeah, which sounds weird. I'm paying a multi-billion-dollar company. Like I'm not one of those people who's like gonna suck up to.
They need the help, Sammy. Yeah. They're struggling. Those CEOs making hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
They need an extra yacht. I don't know if you know that, but they need an extra yacht, or else they will pass away if we don't buy them another yacht. They won't be here much longer.
Exactly. That's how it's worked, man. That's the ecosystem of capitalism.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, so like we're going to talk about next episode our hopes for the next Battlefield game, and I plan on talking a lot about the live service experience there that I think needs to be updated for 2025 or whenever the next game comes out. But that's going to be a big topic, so stay tuned for that. In terms of what I think Battlefield like misses the whole marker with their live service is they don't make a cohesive experience. It's like you took a regular Battlefield game, stripped all the content to it, and then slapped a live service game on top of it and did nothing.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to put a finger on, isn't it? Like what feels wrong about it? I don't actually know how to describe why this live service for 2042 didn't work that well, because I'm all for that. I'm a big like, give me a battle pass. I'll pay for a battle pass and give me tiers to unlock, and I'll buy skins if they're cool. Like I'm down for that. I'm not one of those people who's just instantly against monetization. Like if it's done well, I'm happy. Like
if I want to continue playing the game, it needs to get money from me somehow. And for free games, that's how it works.
Yeah, because the funny thing is that when we look at Battlefront 2, like in hindsight, man, I would have killed to be able to pay money to support that game because it would have lasted longer. You know what I mean? I think that's why I'm like that, because we've seen games that we didn't want to end because they didn't make money. So I am all for it, but yeah, it just hasn't. I don't know. It just hasn't been done well in Battlefield, but I don't know why, because they technically, they're crossing everything off the list. There's a battle pass. There's some pretty cool skins in there. They had the hero shooter element that in XDefiant I like, but in Battlefield I just didn't like. So I don't fully get it. I don't know why I'm not all for it, but yeah, something went wrong, and I really just can't put a finger on it, which is a little bit annoying, to be honest. I wish I knew so that I could. Like, I want to give them feedback. I want to say, hey, like, do this instead. Change this about it. But I don't know. I don't know what they can change, because technically they seem to have done everything right. So, yeah, it's a weird position.
Yeah, there's many problems. A lot of them are small, but I think a lot of them are just fundamental to what they made Battlefield 2042 to be. That, like, is the real problem here. They tried to do something new without understanding the reason for trying to do something new. Like, if you're going to do something new, you need to be prepared and know why and how you're going to address all the problems that being new will do. But now it's just kind of like, well, that didn't work. And there's so many things that didn't work that it's hard to really pin down, like, oh yeah, fix this and it'll be better. It's like, no, you need to fix like 7 different things, and all of them are slightly different. And if I give you this list, you're going to be like, really?
Yeah.
But ultimately it comes down, make a Battlefield game, don't make a freaking live service knockoff that doesn't actually hold many of the values that Battlefield has.
Yeah. I think, like, I reckon that is the part that didn't sell me, is that no matter how the live service was, realistically the game at the end of the day wasn't. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like a true Battlefield experience, and I think that's probably what made me not want to spend as much money on it and stuff. And so that is the key. I will say that until the bloody cows come home, that's what they need to do. They need to just make the next Battlefield just feel really Battlefieldy, make the gameplay good, and I think also the setting is a big, not even the setting, but just the tone. Like, because I actually thought the setting of 2042 and the actual like setup for the story, like the premise of the story was cool, but I don't know, it didn't land because the tone was a bit. This was meant to be like the most dire freaking war ever, and instead there's Angel just making jokes about stuff and McKay talking about coffee and stuff. I wanted to feel like I'm in this genuine, like the final war. Do you know what I mean? And it just didn't feel like that at all. So I think that's a big thing. I think that even though it's a shooter, like I'm not playing it for the story. It's a multiplayer game to me, but it's a big thing for me. I want, like, I think that's what Battlefront did really well, is that I felt like I'm in Star Wars when I'm running around under the feet of a AT-AT on Hoth. I don't care how goofy it is that Palpatine's fighting freaking, some random character that doesn't make sense. I don't care, because the actual immersion of the game was so bloody good that it keeps you hooked. And that's something that just Battlefield just never had that. It just never, there was not one moment where I was like, damn, this feels like I'm in like a real war, you know what I mean? And weirdly, that does seem to be a big thing for me. That, I never would think that immersion in a multiplayer shooter would matter, but I guess it does for Battlefield.
Yeah, they need to get the vibe going. Tone is 100%. I think too, the expectation versus reality was just set up very poorly, because they had that first trailer where it was like in London. It was like the impact of global warming. It was the impact of war, and how all of the nations are kind of just like disbanded. And there's a bunch of people that are separate from the government agencies that have now taken it upon themselves to fight. That trailer portrayed an awesome game, and then you get into it and it's like, nope, this is just a standard shooter and they aren't doing anything interesting, and all of the characters kind of suck.
I think that's the big part of it too, is the characters. Like, there was no one memorable to me. Like, I don't know, not one single of the specialists stood out as like, damn, that's a cool character, like I really like that guy or that girl. But they were all just kind of mid. I didn't dislike any of them. None of them were like, oh, maybe Boris. Actually, I fucking hate Boris. The rest of them, I was just like, I don't know. I nothing them. I don't like them or dislike them. They're just irrelevant to me, and that's probably a part of it too. That, and also like the lack of the campaign. That's probably adds to that even further. If we got a campaign, I might feel more for Falcon McKay, because there might be a really cool storyline there that, they've had a tough life and all that kind of thing, and it makes you feel a bit closer to them.
Sammy, if you read the PDFs that were like 5 pages deep on the website, you would know that Boris had such a terrible upbringing, and that's why he is the way he is.
It's such a wild, like, why did they do that? Why is there freaking PDFs of the story? Like, that is just such a random. I've never seen a game be like, hey, if you want our story, we're not going to do a little cinematic movie. I mean, we're going to do one, actually. We're going to do one little short.
One singular cinematic.
And then, but the rest, if you want to catch up on the rest, head over to our poorly optimized website that takes ages to load, and then load up this freaking PDF that's 14,000 words that is just the most bland, boring thing ever. Such a strange way of doing it.
Boris is a soldier. He does soldiery things and keeps doing soldiery things. It's like when you're writing a book report and
you got to extend.
You have like a word limit, and like all of them could just be like, Boris is a warrior and did this, and McKay is a warrior who also did this, but he's Canadian. Basically, just do that for every single one, and there's your story.
Yeah,
obviously, we know there's a bunch of people on the story team. You guys are awesome.
That's the thing, is the actual story was cool. I thought the actual it was just the setting, the way it was presented, the idea was so strange. But
execution couldn't do some work.
Yeah, well, I remember saying in like one of the first videos that I did when the game came out, I was like, this is actually one of the coolest stories that I've seen in Battlefield, because it was like there's a world war that we hadn't ever seen before, of like, it's not just, you know, like the typical America versus Russia war over like whatever, just a bit of, they're angry at each other, so they just go to war. It was like actually a really cool premise, but the way that they presented it was just so odd. If they had I honestly think if they did a campaign for this game, it would have potential to be, oh look, I don't know if it would beat the war stories in Battlefield 1, but it would would have potential to be up there as one of the best stories that they would have told. But because there was no campaign, that's where it suffered. It just there was no way to like make me interested in it, I guess, because it's just I don't know, just the way it was presented. But like, hopefully that's something that changes with the next one. We are meant to be getting the campaign, so. But then also, man, all this stuff with Marcus Leto has me a little bit nervous, to say the least.
Yeah. That's a topic for another time.
Yep.
But let us know your thoughts on live service in Battlefield, as well as your hopes for Season 1 of XDefiant. Let us know in the comments below. As always, you can check out the podcast wherever you find podcasts. Check out Sammy Boy's YouTube channels if you're into gaming, Battlefield, Call of Duty, first-person shooters, Star Wars, all the things. Those will be in the description. And hey, if you're into Star Wars, check out Star Wars Uplink, podcast that we do as well. As always, we'll see you later, video gamers.